I could not attend your course because I was traveling extensively in the United States. Likewise, I only attend a couple of minutes of Philip's course, but I really appreciate Philip had introduced you to us, and you know, so far we have done all the 3 courses, 2 by Philip and 1 by Pierre. So today we just bother you for a few minutes as a tradition, because we couldn't have you in Vietnam for training. You know that the challenge of delivering courses through the internet that have been very hard for all of us over the last 2 years. So in order to wrap up a year in safety management and safety culture development, we just want to spend about 5, 7, or 10 minutes talking about your course, about the common challenge of aviation sector in the subject that you have delivered. Like a human factor, like change management, like accident investigation. Then you could also feel free to give us some recommendation that how Vietnam Airlines should go, because you know the Vietnam Airlines is quite an established airlines. You know, they follow, they have a strategic partnership with Air France, KLM, and they are expanding quickly in the region, but for many advanced knowledge that is prevailing in the West, you know, Vietnam Airlines need to learn and catch up a lot. So from the knowledge base, you know, you could see that they are very eager to learn, but they lack of learning management system that get the right learners, the right feedback, the right interaction to your courses, and also we get a lot of challenge in organizing those training programs for them from time to time. So hopefully you can give us a very thoughtful 5-7 minutes, so we can show them at the very end of the program, which is the end of March. By the end of March, same as Philip had delivered a seminar presentation 2 years ago in Ha Long Bay. We would like to use your video records to show at this seminar. So please help us to elaborate the questions that Mr. Tien has sent and discussed with you in advance. Thank you very much. All the best, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for all the support, you know, during the training. It was really appreciated, but because as you said, you know, training online is not that easy, and of course we would prefer to come to Vietnam and also to have more interaction with people, because it's quite difficult to do it online. So hopefully the new year will bring good news, and yes, so we can resume a normal training approach.
Yes. Yeah, by the way, just another out of the subject, but if the France, Vietnam, you know, Paris, Hanoi or Paris or Ho Chi Minh routes is open again in March or after the Lunar New Year, we would like to invite maybe Claude to come and then have maybe just one day site visit at Raipur.
Yeah.
Or even you, if you want to transit in Vietnam to Jakarta, we may arrange a ticket for you to come.
Thank you so much.
Okay, because I think we will soon open Southeast Asia routes with either Singapore or Jakarta.
Okay.
But if there is Paris, Hanoi, then I think you can come and discuss with us about the future.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah. The Paris Hanoi route has not been open.
Not yet. We are working hard on that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I think because the Omicron has spreading in Europe, so the government is hesitating a bit.
Yeah. So you don't have Omicron yet in Vietnam?
We have, and it's quite quickly spreading as well.
Yeah. But which could be a good news, for some epidemiologists. Yes.
Yeah, it could build herd immunity.
Yeah, herd immunity, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But by the way, because we got Tien and Hồng Anh is very innovative, and they are very eager to help the course successful. So we look after, with Tien and Hồng Anh, they are a duo.
Anh Dũng ơi, sorry, excuse me. I believe that Piere, you are quite busy today. Is that correct?
Yes, okay.
Right? Sorry, we'll let you. We'll do the chit chat after Piere.
No problem.
Yes. Yes, we'll let Piere go quite early. So yes.
Okay.
We are talking too much.
Yes. So I think Piere has to go very soon. Yeah. So yes, we'll finish this quickly.
Okay, ready. We are ready.
So thank you. Thank you very much, Captain Piere, for today's, and we will just do a quick interview, just a 10 minutes talks about, mainly will be summaries and the purpose of the change management. We have a lot of feedbacks about it, lots of positive feedback, of course, for the course. However, there will be two main points that we want to discuss today in order to everybody to understand. So first point, I would like to know from you, so how do you differentiate change management or management change in aviation industry and in safety context, with also comparing to the business context, because of course we understand it's different. So could you please share some ideas and your opinion on that?
Okay, so basically management of change in aviation, according to ICAO Annex 19, it's a formal process for a systemic and proactive identification of hazard and appropriate mitigation strategy. So depending on what kind of business you speak about, we may have some different approach. But in aviation, safety, to do that, we try to depict a potential path to the accident, what we call accident scenario. And for that, we use accident family, for example, mid-air collision, loss of control, runway excursion, and so on and so on. And we are looking at some unwanted event register. So when we speak about unwanted event register or hazard register, we are looking at some register already existing in ICAO, in IATA, in different airlines, and so on. So we look in that way, we look at all safety barrier, control barrier, recovery barrier, mitigation barrier, and we analyze how they are impacted. And we try to see if some barriers are weak enough or robust enough, and do we need to add additional barrier, like a new equipment, like a new procedure, like a new training, and so on and so on. So this job has to be performed by brainstorming session with relevant experts. If you speak about some engine issue, you need pilot, you need perhaps flight cabin, and you need for sure people from maintenance side. After that, you may access to some external experts like engine manufacturer or airframe manufacturer. So the job is really interested to do that by brainstorming, because you will have some additional input. So for the business context, for me, it's the same, but it depends what kind of business. If you speak about maintenance business, for example, I take very often an example. The maintenance department deliver to the flight department an Airbus 320 without the captain side stick. Regarding the safety, no impact, because it's impossible to leave the gate without both side stick. But regarding the maintenance business, it should be interesting to have a look at that. And if I look at the maintenance context, so for me to deliver an airplane, an Airbus 320 without a side stick, for example, it's a major accident regarding maintenance. So the term accident has to be taken into account in a generic term. It's not an accident like a crash or something like that. It's accident is something that we want to avoid. Okay, so depending on what kind of business you are looking at, if you look at human factor, perhaps your accident will be some workforce missing. If you look at the authority, the lack of confidence from the authority or from the customer should be an accident. So depending, for me, safety or business, we may have the same way to proceed for management of change, but take just into account that management of change, you are looking forward and you do not react to something. So you have to analyze the change first, and you do it, you cancel it, or you amend it according to the conclusion of your analysis. Okay, and very often the order comes from the top, from the CEO, from the accountable manager. Do that. Okay, and after that you check that everything is okay. No, management of change, you plan to do something, you analyze your accident scenario, you analyze your barrier, and after that it's possible to go or not. If not, you stop, you amend, or you do something. I am enough clear?
Yes, absolutely. So from what I hear from you, and it's very clear that management change is not something that you react to. It's something that you need to plan, to prepare, and in order to realize the barriers and, you know, to enhance all of the things to prevent the accident, correct?
Yeah, that's the reason why COVID, when we speak about COVID, basically, it's not, for me, it's not a change. We react to COVID and we adapt our process, our workforce, a lot of things. But for me, it is not relevant to speak about management of change in terms of COVID. It's my opinion, it's just my opinion.
Absolutely, I understand that. So let's move to the second question. It's very important that we use a lot of model in order to analyze and identify and also to plan ahead. So other than the bow tie model, which you mentioned, and it did mention a lot in the SMS. So any other techniques that you would suggest that we can use when we work in the aviation industry?
Basically, bow tie is used by everybody. So it's used by authority, it's used by IATA, it's used by ICAO, by a lot of organizations. And it is very easy to see when you use bow tie, it's really easy to see your accident scenario, to see your unwanted event, to see your barrier, and so on. So it's very fruitful, useful to use that. Perhaps you have some additional model, but this one is very useful and shared by the aviation community. So that's the reason why I think if you manage very well the bow tie with your accident family, with your hazard resistor, and so on, I think you will gain a lot in terms of efficiency regarding safety.
Thank you very much. So from there, I can totally understand that we can combine the bow tie with the family accident families analysis and also the hazards register as well, the table. So it will be effectively to create a more well-prepared plan and for the, of course, so just a side questions, as a pilot with many years of experience, what do you think is the challenging for people and for you as a pilot in managing the change?
So don't in safety basically, but it's also apply for the management of change. Don't reinvent the wheel. Very often, when you plan to do a change, you open a new route, you introduce a new airplane, you change a procedure, something like that. Don't reinvent the wheel, because somebody, an airline, an authority, an organization has already analyzed the issue. So first point regarding management of change, it's, for me, it's benchmark. Look at what happened in the industry regarding that kind of change. You introduce a new airplane, okay, perhaps you introduce a 350, okay, you are not the first one. So look at the other airline. What kind of training? What kind of maintenance? What kind of network, and so on and so on. So very often you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look at outside the company or outside your business unit. For example, you are in the cabin. You are in cabin safety, look at in maintenance safety, look at in flight safety or something like that. Don't reinvent the wheel, look outside the company, take information, learn from everybody, and you gain a lot of time.
Thank you very much. It's very helpful tips. And of course, I believe we're going to use that with your expert to gain a lot of things, and we're going to save a lot of money and also the time as well. Thank you very much. It's very nice. Very nice. Thank you. So I believe that our interview is done with you, Pierre. So sorry, we have to chat.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just one thing regarding my feedback regarding the training I performed last year. When you plan to do that kind of training, just make up homogeneous group to avoid some people waste time and overboard. Yes. Because in the previous session, you had the people very aware of SMS, like pilot and something, and they understand very well what I spoke about. Yes. So for next training, try to make up homogeneous group, and depending on the individuals, plan initial and recurrent training in order that people remain in the loop and remain efficient. Because in SMS, in safety, not in SMS, in safety, you have to keep current, to keep efficient, and so on. And to do that, it's necessary from time to time to have some recurrent training, to share information from maintenance, from ground, from ATC, and so on and so on. So my main advice will be this one. First, try to do homogeneous group, and and plan at some interval, some recurrent training.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you that we need to consider the consistency of the training of the participant as well in order to learn and gain the best knowledge. Also, the second point, I agree with you that we will need to personalize the learning journey so they understand the concept fully and they don't be so surprised that the idea is totally different from what they expect. So what we're planning, we will do a survey in every year, to be honest. So in order to collect the feedback from the groups and the participants, and then we can divide them and prepare for the next year training. Yeah,
that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very good feedback. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See
Thank
you.
you, Pierre.
Thank you, Pierre.
Bye-bye.
See you then. Bye. Yes, yes, Philip, are you ready?
I'm ready, yes.
Yeah, as usual, yes.
Yes.
So yes, so I will skip the introduction and we're just gonna focus on the some of the questions. So thank you very much, Philip, for joining us today for the quick interview after the courses. As we all know that you introduced to us two main courses, which is human factors and also the safety investigations, is really is all based on, of course, the SMS, and it was on the chapter of SMS as well from ICAO, IATA, and others groups, and Vietnam Airlines also. Regarding to the first point that we want to ask you is the human factors. So my question is, through your research and of course your expertise with the aviations and other industry as well, could you share any information regarding to human factors during the post-COVID? For example, is the well-being, the pilot and the crew member, because we do have the long break and it might affect their abilities and their capabilities.
Yes. As you said, yes, the COVID-19 pandemic, which has started now 2 years ago, so it's a it's a very long crisis. We are not really used to manage such long crises. Had a lot of human factors impact at different levels, and especially for the aviation industry, of course, which has been hit very seriously during this period. For example, just to give you a very practical example, several studies have shown a significant increase of the frequency of sleep disorders. So that means that more people get some sleep disorder, more difficulty to get good quality of sleep, a lot of night awakenings. And so this increase of sleep disorder could be explained by two main factors. The first one is the effect of the lockdown, as we had a lot of lockdown everywhere in the world, which has reduced the opportunity of physical exercise, daylight exposures, and social interaction. And these three factors are very well known in the research. We are doing a lot of research on these factors to synchronize our body clock. So, in the brain, we have a body clock, and this body clock should be synchronized to get the best performance and the best sleep quality and well-being. So if you remove these factors, your body clock tends to be desynchronized, and so to provoke a lot of sleep disorder, which have in turn a lot of effect on, of course, your well-being, your stress, and even on your health. There is some research which have linked sleep quantity and quality with your life expectancy, and also on the strength of your immune system. And so, of course, we need to have a very strong immune system in the time of the pandemic. So we believe, of course, that sleep is a key aspect of well-being and health. So the second factor is associated with the stress due to the impact of the pandemic and the uncertainty created by the pandemic, such as the fear of employees of losing their job. And which was really a concern for a lot of airlines. And so as there were several staff reduction And so an increase also of the absenteeism, there was also some impact on the work organization and the workload of employee. And this factor should be really managed properly to avoid some effect both on health and safety in the aviation industry.
Yes, thank you very much. So what techniques or what kind of methods would you and approach would you recommend for improving the employee well-being, as we need to consider that is that going to be from the top manager or from the bottom line of the industry? What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I would say that improving well-being of employees should be based on the same approach as the one we use in safety. Meaning that first, and of course, there is no magic bullets, to improve employees' well-being. So we need first to have a very proactive approach on this field, and so it should be based, as always, like for safety, it should be based on a data-driven approach. So that means that we need to collect some data, because from one airline to another, the factors, the situation should be very different. So we can't really take, from the shelf something and just apply it to your airline, and so we'll be sure that it will work. So we need first to get some data to understand more accurately what factors may impact the well-being of employees. So this data collection now could be performed with online surveys. So we have a lot of tools to collect data. We can use smartphones. So there is a lot of tools now which can be used to really collect data on a very large scale. And from the data analysis, so it starts to be possible to identify the main areas to improve. And very often from our research, the well-being of employees is impacted by several factors, like the high demand, so the workload. And we know, as we have just said, that workload tend to increase in the time of the pandemic because of the of the staff reduction and absenteeism. A lack of control. This is the second factors which have been shown to be to reduce the well-being of people. So the fact that the employees have the feeling that they are losing the control on their job, they have less ability to decide, and the social support. The social support is also a third factor, which is a key aspect to if you want to maintain or increase the well-being employee. And so this should be improved by rethinking the work organization, because very often, sometimes, the pandemic just revealed some latent failures in the systems, something which is here for years. And so the pandemic tend to to reveal this problem that should be managed. And so this problem should be managed with the employee. It's very important also to try to involve the employee in the ways the organization will be reworked and will be changed for the next years.
Yes, thank you very much. So I do believe, would you consider and how degree would you agree with the concept of saying the COVID brings a lot of threats and hazard, however, it also show a lot of opportunity for the development?
Yes, exactly. I strongly believe that any crisis is also bring opportunities, as you said, opportunities to change, opportunities to be more aware of something which is already there, and so this is a concept of resilience. In human factors, we like to use, and also in psychology, we like to use the term resilience, because it gives you a perspective on the fact that the organization can only improve when they are faced to some threat, as you said. And so if they want to really, strengthen their barriers, and so if they want to be more adaptable, they need to anticipate this kind of threat. And so, as you said, COVID-19, of course, is a crisis, and we always live in crisis. We always live, with something which is unwanted. The specific, I mean, case of the COVID-19, it's a very long crisis, of course, and so it tends to put a lot of pressures on employees, on managers, and so yeah, we really need to use this crisis to take the opportunity to improve and to be more resilient to future crises.
Yep, thank you very much. It's very helpful for the human factors. And so we're going to move to the second topics. That will be the safety investigations. The course is really useful and is actually used day by day. And so our first question is, with your experience in the industry, and of course, with the lots of research that you conduct, so which model has been used or methods has been used a lot in order to investigate in the industry?
Yes, so as Piere Alba said, of course, the bow tie is a model which has been very much used in the aviation industry, and as he said, this the advantage of the model is that it's quite easy to use. You know, you don't need to have a lot of expertise to use the bow tie model. The other model, which I think have been very much used in aviation, and this is linked also to the fact that aviation is a complex system. You know, you have a complex organization with I mean, a lot of people interacting, a very complex organization. And so the HFAX model, the human factors analysis classification system, have been also very much used in aviation to investigate incident or accident. And this model is based on, this is actually not a model, it's more a method, you know, a methodology to investigate accident. And it's based on the theory of switches, of the switches model, which is very well known, which assume that accidents occur because of a combination of active and latent failures. And this is really the main strength of the model, is to go much beyond the human errors, because traditionally, you know, we see accident just as a result of human errors, okay, or technical failures. And the main advantage of the switches model and so of the HFAX methodology is to go beyond these simple ideas and to see accident as the result of multiple causes, multiple interactions between human, organization, and equipment. Yeah, and so this is why I think the HFAX has been quite used in the aviation to investigate accident.
Thank you very much. So I believe there was a lot of concern with the machine learning, and of course it's the trending that we need to consider how human interact with the machine and how machine can help us to improve our safety system. And this actually happened in the industry for a long time. So my question is concerning about the effects, of course, the after effect of post pandemic. So we do have a lot of accidents, incidents happen lately due to the fact that we lost in the labor forces, have not enough skills, and so more and more human factors like human errors is happen. So do you think that the 11 modules that you shows in the class is still effective, and some of them is not effective? And can you just give us some ideas?
Yeah. Yes, of course, this model are still effective and relevant to use, especially I would say after the COVID-19. We are still, in fact, in the COVID-19 in January 2022, because some of this model they can be used also to do risk assessment, because some of this model are only focused on incident or accident investigation. So that means you are analyzing things after the facts, but some of them also are very useful to do risk assessment, and so to try to predict what might be the future risk, which is the key challenge in aviation, you know, because it's more and more difficult to predict the next accident, and you can't only use the previous data, because it's again, it's such a complex system that the accident or the occurrence tend to be very difficult to predict. So yeah, in this specific period, I think that this model are still useful and relevant, especially to use as a risk assessment. And I think it would be a good idea to try to use this model to try to systematically assess the risk associated with different factors which have been brought by the pandemic. As you said, the decrease of workforce, the increase of workload, create new situation, new risk situation, and so this should be assessed by using this some of this model.
Yep, thank you very much. And as you did mention about the text in the interview, methods of investigation is very, very big things. And so how can you stay into non-bias in order to have the non-judgmentals and the correct and the effectives of the investigation?
Sorry, could you say it again?
So I just wonder, okay, so the question is, how can you stay non-biased? Because of course you have your thinking, you have your ideas, and you might affect the investigations while you conduct it. So how can you stay in neutral positions?
Okay, yeah, that's a very important point, and this is the very objective of this methods is to have the unbiased approach on accident, because when we see an accident, and this is very human, or an incident, we tend to have some hypotheses, and especially we tend to attribute very frequently, the bad outcomes to a human. We tend to see that everything is due to a human error. So to go beyond that, we need to use this kind of techniques, and it was, I mean, one of the objectives of the training on safety investigation. So it was to introduce some techniques that are supposed to reduce the limitations, in the safety investigation. And so there is a lot of limitation due to in safety investigation, especially if you take different investigators, they are coming with different backgrounds, with different expertise, and so they tend to, we tend to have some influence from this individual profile in the investigation. So the objective of this technique is to try to standardize, to guide the investigator and to avoid this kind of influence, to have, as you said, a very neutral approach of the accident investigation process.
Yes, so thank you very much. I believe this is all very our questions to interview for today. So is there anything that you would like to contribute, for example, feedback us after these two courses that you conduct with us in 2021?
Yes, maybe, yeah. So thank you very much again for your support during the training. As I said earlier, and as Pierre also said, yeah, I think online training, of course, is not an easy task. And so we try to do our best to maintain the best quality. But of course, doing, traditional course when with face-to-face training is of course much better. In terms of maybe in feedback of the training, as also I agree with Pierre to try as much as possible to create, consistent participant groups, because sometimes there is some large variety in the profile of the participant, and it's quite difficult, for us to say, okay, for people who have a lot of experience, we need to go quite, at a high level, because they are expecting, some new knowledge, but we know that we have also some participants who have less experience or less expertise, and we need also to try to adjust to them. So yeah, maybe if possible, having more homogeneous participant will probably be, something that will be a key factor to improve the quality of the training. Probably we need also to have more interactions with the participant, to do more practical exercise, which is always difficult to do when we are online. So, but I can think of different kind of to introduce more interactions. But yeah, this should be done, you know, in a traditional in the traditional training, so face-to-face training. So hopefully we'll be able to organize in the future face-to-face training.
Yes, absolutely. And just the final questions, actually final points that we would like to have your opinion and ideas in the well-being or occupational health and safety, because it's really a huge concern with the state as well, with the employee themselves as well. So could you please share any ideas or any example that you have been involved in or done some research?
Yes, we, as I said earlier, you know, we are conducting a lot of survey in airlines currently in Europe on stress and well-being of employees. And so again, you know, the key factor is to have a data-driven approach. So we because very often the question of well-being, you know, is something which is quite difficult to tackle for managers, you know, because they consider, oh yes, but we need to have, I mean, to reinforce the strengths of individual to be able to fight against stress. But in fact, if we don't work at the organizational level, so if we don't change the organizational level, we can't have a long-term effect. You know, you will have only a short-term effect. So what we need is to really try to understand the organization. What are the factors in the organization that create issues associated with well-being, and from that, you know, create some change management, you know, to improve the well-being.
Yep, thank you very much. I believe that's all. And so thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and so we stay in touch.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I will leave Dr. Zoom because our record is done, so should be fine.
Okay.
So if you want to chit chat a bit, then we can talk a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Tien, and thanks, Phillips.